salt in, and they go 10 minutes ago. Well, you need at least 24 hours for the salt to dissolve in the pool and circulate. So salt's first. Everybody got that?
Tell them how you're putting the salt in.
I have one of your, well, it's based on the size of the pool. So you'll need to determine the amount of salt based on the gallons of water. So there's a lot of tools online that you can use to calculate the amount of salt necessary to reach 35 to 4,500 parts per million. I don't know the size of the pools, but it generally takes, hundreds of pounds depending on the size of the pool. 40-pound salt bags, no additives, just straight NaCl. You can get it at any local pool store, Home Depot, but you need to have the salt in the water before the generator can produce anything. So that's why I started off with the salt.
How you getting the salt in the water?
Pouring it directly into the water. 40-pound bags, dumping them in, and run the pump, let it circulate and dissolve. We always recommend at least 24 hours for it to be completely dissolved.
And do you have to walk around the pool to add the salt, or can it all be put in one spot?
No, salt will dissolve on its own. Yeah, you can. I mean, it maybe would help to dissolve it if you spread it around, but it'll dissolve nonetheless over that 24-hour period.
So you can broadcast it, or you can brush it.
Any other questions regarding salt? Yeah. Okay, Mike. Okay. So we got a couple of things when we open the box. The first thing is a big stop sign with an image of the proper installation. The reason for this is because if it's not installed properly, and we'll go over some of the reasons why it needs to be installed the way it does throughout the presentation here. But the first thing is a big stop sign that says not to install it the proper way, which I'm going to go over here. We also have the warranty instructions that go over.
Wait, excuse me, real quick. Good comment. Does it matter on water temperature for dissolving the salt?
I'll go over that too. That's all part of the power supply unit. There's some certain specifications at which the unit can operate, and so we'll go over that. It's all in here. So we'll get to that part. But yes, our unit can operate in pretty high and low temperatures. Obviously, not freezing or very hot water, but our unit does have one of the larger ranges of temperature for salt chlorine generators. And I'm sure Mike has some other stuff in his sales presentation to talk about with that. So I'm just going to be doing the installation here. So we got the warranty information as well as the installation manual and user manual. Now, with these units, it's a little different than some of our other chlorine generators because it's pretty easy to install. The homeowner can do it themselves, which is why we're going over this with you. So let me pull out some of the bit parts we have in here. We have the chlorine generator cell. We put it in the box with a couple of the attachments. This is a pre-assembled elbow with a threaded attachment there that's going to go on the return here. That's key. We also have two pieces here. One is a 2-inch tail for 2-inch plumbing, and we also have a flex hose adapter for flex hose. And we give one nut for either one because obviously you're not going to use both pieces. So you have this for the return, and then this is for the bottom part of the cell, depending on what plumbing you have. For this case today, we're going to be using flex hose, so I'll be using this flex hose adapter. Now, if you do have 1.5-inch pipe, we also include a reducer for the 2-inch if you have to go to 1.5 hard plumb. So we have this reducer here that you can glue in. I'm not gluing anything today, but I will just talk about gluing. But obviously PVC glue is going to be necessary for installing with the hard plumbing. Not necessary for above ground, the flex hose. Also have a clamp here that's going to be used to attach the flex hose to this piece here. So I'll keep that together. I'm going to get to the cell. Some Teflon tape that I'm going to apply to this thread here before I attach it to there so we can make a nice seal. And the last accessory is our cleaning cap. It actually includes a nut as well. So you do have that extra nut, but this is just to seal off the bottom of the cell for cleaning it. You do need to clean the cell periodically to remove any debris or calcium buildup. It's all in the manual as far as maintaining the cell. Gonna clean that with acid and water and acid mix, which is all in the manual there. Somebody have a question?
Oh, keep going.
Okay. All right, so then I have a chlorine cell, which has O-rings attached on either end that are used to create the seal for our unit. You want to get it? Did you have something to say? Oh, yeah, so then we have the power supply unit here, which I'll install last, but for this particular unit, unlike our other units, it's just a plug and go, and then the other connection will connect to the cell. So we're gonna mount that up and plug it in, and that's as far as the installation of the power supply goes. So I'm gonna get started if nobody has any questions so far on installing this cell. Anybody? Okay. Like I said, I'm gonna apply some Teflon tape to this thread. Everybody can see okay?
Yep,
They're all muted.
everything's great. Yep.
Can't see. So I'm applying some tape. I go usually 3 or 4 wraps just to make a nice seal. We give a full roll, so if you need extra, you can use that and reapply. But these things usually make a nice seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and thread this into the return over here. Make sure everybody can see. So this is the return to the pool, and I'm just gonna thread this all the way in to this return until the elbow. Also, we want it to face down because our cell is gonna face that direction. So now I have this facing downwards. Now the next step, we can actually attach our cell to this. Now the cell is going to go with the boot at the bottom. If you, we have inside, there's a filter that prevents debris from going in between the blades. When you have debris between the blades, it can affect the chlorine production, cause an error. So that's why we ask to clean the cell and check it for debris periodically. You got to take it out and take a look at it. So this will simply thread on, and we're going to hand tighten it just like so. No need for a wrench to over tighten it. When you hand tighten it, it'll create a seal with the O-ring. Now, like I said, we have the option to do a hard plumb or a flex hose. For this purpose, we're gonna do the flex hose. So I'm gonna attach the flex hose with my nut here and again, hand tighten it. Don't wanna over thread it or scratch up the unions. You just need to hand tighten it. Then I have this piece of flex hose here. This one already, can you pass me the, it's actually up there next to the drill. Here. So we include a clamp so you attach a flex hose. This is an old clamp I'll remove and put ours on. I'm gonna slide the hose all the way up to the top of the flex hose adapter. Slide it all the way on, and we're gonna tighten this as tight as we can make it. Now with that tightened down, we should have a completed cell installation for this unit. Now, alternatively, like I said, if you had a hard plumb, you could glue the union in and just glue it to the bottom here. Now, if you are using glue, make sure that you let the glue set with the unions before applying the cell. You cannot let cell drip inside the cell. It will damage the cell and void the warranty. So if you are using PVC glue to hard plumb it, you need to make sure that you glue the union in first and let it dry. Do not install the cell while the glue is still wet. So with that installed, the next part will be our power supply, which, as I said, is pretty simple to install with this one. You want to back it up more. Maybe you want to hold it up. Now it is required to install this into a GFCI connection. I'm not doing that here because we're using this setup here and I don't have one, but you should hook this into the same timer as your pump so that they operate at the same time, ideally, because it does not have a flow switch with it. Flow switch would be used to prevent it from operating when there's no flow, but this unit does not have that fail safe, so it is important to make sure that the unit's only running when the pump is on. So there's actually 3 screws to mount this. I'm only using one to show you guys right now because, like I said, I don't have the necessary place to do this right now, but it should be mounted near a GFCI outlet so they can be connected to the GFCI. Then you're going to remove the cell cable here. Let me get a knife. Oh, I got one here. So you're going to attach the cell cable. And you have a male and a female. There's only one way to connect the cell, so you can't screw it up, but do not connect the power supply to itself. It happens, we've seen it. When we send the cell out, the cables are connected to themselves, so you will have to disconnect the cell cable from here. But there's only one way to hook it up, and male to female, female to male, cells connected. You can zip tie these cables, run them with your other cables, keep them out of the way. And lastly, like I said, there's just a plug on here. This plugs directly into ideally the same hookup as your pump, so they operate together. But definitely needs to be on a GFCI outlet. That is a requirement, otherwise it does void the warranty as well. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, we can light it up. There's no water in the pool, and I'm not turning the pump on, but so yeah, we got your on and off button, which will manually turn the power supply on and off. Chlorine level, you can adjust the chlorine output, and then we have a super chlor, which will set it to the maximum chlorine output for 24 hours, and then revert back to your original setting after the 24 hours. Air codes has a low salt light. Check cell light, which indicates to inspect the cell. Water flow, which doesn't apply for this unit because it does not include a flow switch, and a standard system error, which there's a variety of system errors that our customer service and tech support can walk the customer through to determine the error. A little sweaty there, but we got it done.
Okay, James, go over the glue again. Like how long you want it to set, what you're actually doing. Nice look.
When I'm gluing PVC, I usually rule of thumb, I usually go a minute or 2 to let the glue set before it's too liquidy to seep into the cell. So I usually go about 2 minutes is a good safe bet for gluing, for using PVC glue. But make sure that the glue cannot drip down into the cell. Obviously, if it's at the bottom, it's not going to go up gravity, but it's very important that you don't allow PVC glue into the cell. It will damage the cell, the plates, and it will void the warranty. So that is very important. Mike had mentioned that to talk more about cleaning the cell. We have the cell cleaning cap where you can cap off one end of the cell. You want to add 4 parts water, 1 part acid. So I fill the cell up about 4/5 of the way, and then add the acid to water, not water to acid. So you can also use white vinegar to clean the cell. It'll take a little longer than the acid, but it does work, and it will will eat away the calcium, and it's a little safer than using acid. So what?
Okay, go back to the power
Moisture
supply for a minute.
Yeah, the power supply. You want to put the.
Yeah, go through why you would boost it. Why are you doing what you're doing? What
when
do you,
starting
where
out,
you want it set?
well, when starting out, obviously you'll need to start with the residual of chlorine, meaning you'll have to start with chlorine in the water. Then you would use this chlorine generator to maintain a safe level of chlorine. Now, what that is to you, I'm not sure. It's 1 to 3 parts per million is the recommended range of free chlorine. And you would need to test the water periodically to determine what setting is best for your pool. Now you may run it on 2, you may run it on the level 4, depending on the chlorine demand for your particular pool. So there's no set answer for that. Now, if you see your chlorine drop, you may want to hit the super chlor button to give it a increased boost of chlorine for a 24-hour period. We're getting a system aerolite because obviously we're not running anything here, so there's no water running through the cell, so there's no current, so we're getting a system air.
Okay, go back to when you install this. You have no water in that pool. What if someone had water in their pool?
Well, if somebody had water in their pool, we would turn the pump on. We turn on, and then we turn on the chlorine generator, and water would start circulating through our cell, and you would have chlorine production. But without the water in the pool, I can't really demonstrate that for you.
No, I meant when you go to install it and there's water in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking off your return. Isn't water going to come out?
Well, yeah. When you're when you're doing the installation on the above ground pool, I guess we would need the water to be below the return line in order to not have water coming out. You could cap off the cell, I guess, and but yeah, that would be a case by case basis. Usually, we're assuming, I guess, these are new installations when I gave you those instructions. But yeah, if there was already water in the pool, we would obviously need to let some water out below the return line to install the cell without it dumping out of the return.
Or you could put a tennis ball in there or a rag, right?
Okay.
James, I have a question.
Yes. I'm looking at what you got?
For mounting the unit there, do you prefer a separate post, or can you mount it on the post on the pool?
Yeah, I mean, it just needs to be close to your outlet. You have a 3-foot power cable. We don't recommend hooking up any extension cables, so you do need to be within 3 foot of your junction box or outlet. So if you have a post already existing, and no, I wouldn't. I mean, you can mount it pretty much anywhere as long as you're within 3 feet of that outlet.
So they can mount it to the upright of the pool.
I don't recommend rounding it on the actual pool, only because you get spillover. Now it is made for the elements, but we don't obviously recommend submerging your power supply in water. There is a limit to how wet it can get, but it is splash resistant and weatherproof, but I would not mount it to the side of the pool because you can get water coming at it from all angles, and that's never good.
Hey, James, as far as the maintenance.
Winterizing, okay. Sorry, I got this. I can hear. All right, go ahead.
Sorry about that. As far as the maintenance goes, can we rely on those indicator lights, or is there a schedule? Is there like a chart in the instructions to check that cell and such?
No, we never recommend, letting it get to the point where you have an error code. If you're checking your cell periodically, we'll recommend, initially maybe every 1 or 2 months before you can determine how much calcium hardness you have in the pool. More calcium, you have more buildup on the cell, and you need to clean it more frequently. So every pool is different. No, you don't want to let the lights come on. Obviously, you let it get too far. So proper maintenance, you want to maintain the proper salt level. Obviously, salt doesn't go anywhere. It's a dissolved solid. So unless you're adding or removing water, the salt won't go anywhere, but you always want to maintain that range, 35 to 4,500. With your unit, it can run a little lower because it's for above ground pools. So on the front of the power supply, it says the optimum salt range is 3,200. So it can operate from 3,000. But as the cell wears out, there's a coating on the plates that wears down. I recommend increasing the salt level to reduce the cell overworking itself. So 3,000 or 3,500 to 4,500, we're dealing with parts per million, so it's a very small difference there. But yeah, the salt level you definitely want to maintain, and you never want to get to the point where it says check cell or low salt. So it's always good to keep an eye on those things if you want to extend the life of this unit. Now you can rely on those lights, but I can assure you that you're not going to get the maximum life out of this cell, and you will need to replace it sooner than you would if you were maintaining it on your own, not relying on the power supply. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Short of actually cleaning it, could you show me how we would get it out to clean it? You know, as far as taking it apart and getting to the cell to clean it.
Wait, James, 1 second. A question came across. Yeah. If the generator is left on while the pump is off, will that damage the unit?
Yeah, so this unit doesn't, like I said, some of our other units have a flow switch, which acts as a fail-safe against operating the unit when the pump's not running. If you're getting power to this cell when there's no flow, the cell can overheat. So it is very important that the pump is always running and there's always flow through the cell when there's power to the cell. So with these above ground units, that's why it's very important that you sync the timer however you can with the salt chlorine generator with the pump so that they operate at the same time.
That could be a potential issue. Wow.
Yeah.
There's no way to get like an auto shut off, because these above ground customers, they're not like on my in-ground pool. Mine runs 24/7 from end of April till October 1. I don't turn it off. It's on low speed. That might be an issue because these guys, a lot of them are on timers, run 8 hours a day, and they forget that. I guess they'd have to just run power supply to that area and have, when one shuts off, the other shuts off. Correct?
Correct. They should be in sync together. Your salt chlorine generator should operate with the pump.
Okay.
All right. What kind of salt? Go over the salt.
Regular sodium chloride, no additives. They have pool salt water, which is only salt. I mean, they have other ones that have like mineral additives. We don't recommend using those. It won't hurt the unit, but we recommend using standard sodium chloride salt. There's nothing special. I think, what are some of the brands?
So you're looking for 99%, right?
Yeah, that's the best stuff to use for the chlorine generator.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, you're recording this, right?
I don't think Mike can hear you. He's recording for me right now. Are you getting this? Did you record this? Yeah, it's on record. He's recording it.
Okay.
There's a little bit going through chat. Is there a timer on our unit, Randy?
Mike, I don't think there's a timer.
No.
So
no,
we don't
have a built-in timer.
We don't have, what's that?
There's no timer built in or anything like that. No, it needs to be hooked into the same timer as the pump.
Oh. Okay, so it could be hooked into the same timer as the pump.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Separate timer.
Now, just so you guys know, this does come equipped with a plug on it, but you can.
Hey, Mark.
You could hardwire this.
Yeah.
Mark,
there's just.
Rick. Yeah.
Yeah, Rick, go ahead.
If it can't really be hooked into the same timer as the pump, because our timers our pumps all have twist lock cords. So we need a twist lock timer. or it's a 3-prong timer that we sell, but it's not one for each. In other words, we don't sell a timer that has a twist lock and a 3-prong together. So I haven't seen, I'm sure there's timers out there, but nothing that we have access to.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Listen, this is, we're going to be learning as this goes. And again, I know this isn't for everyone, but we don't, this is, hey, there's a lot of chat also about a flow switch with the unit. James, is that something that can be added?
This unit that we made for you is specifically made for above ground pool. So no, this does not have the ability to add a flow switch. That would have to be a special power supply that includes a flow and temperature sensor. So these particular units, the units you have right now, do not have that. There's no flow switch, which is the way it was designed.
James.
Right. It would be an in-ground unit that has a flow switch. These are for above ground pools. Yes, sir.
James, are there visual clues to know when to clean the salt cell, or do you just do it routinely?
I recommend routinely, especially starting out, because every pool is different. Some may have a high level of calcium hardness and you can see the cell calcify in a couple weeks, a month, and you'd visually be able to see it. I think somebody had asked about taking it out. So again, having the water come back out of the return, you'd have to take out some water in order to do this without getting, I guess, water coming out of your return. But you just remove your flex hose, just like you put it on. Oh, yes, there was some water in there. Disconnect your cell and put the cables somewhere where they can't get wet. And then I'm just gonna detach the cell from here. Now, just for the purpose of not getting the cell wet, I do connect the cables together just so that we don't get water in the connections, because that's a big no-no. I'm gonna remove this attachment here, and then we include this cell cleaning cap, which can be used to cap off, like I said, one end. So now this is capped off, and I'd fill it I use the lines here, and I fill it about to this line on the side of the cell with water, and then top it off with acid and let it sit for about 10 minutes, and you'll actually see all the buildup, if there is any, on the cell dissolving away, and then just rinse it out with water, and you should be good to go. Now, some of the errors that I showed you on the power supply, like check cell. Now, say you get like a pebble or something stuck in between the blades, that will give you an error code. Our manual has some other indicators, errors that you could come across, and the troubleshooting for that. So that's a whole nother process and lesson there is the troubleshooting of the power supply. I'm not necessarily the person for that. We have a customer service department that can help anybody walk through troubleshooting and help them resolve pretty much any issue they have with the unit and get the right parts replaced if they need to.
What's the amp draw?
The amp draw, I think, is like 0.4. I think so. It's in the manual here. It's very low amperage. Yeah, it's very low amperage. There's no, depends what setting you're running it on. You guys have a 6-blade cell, so it's very low amperage. I don't know the exact number. Did you want to get back in there? If you guys have any other questions for me.
Yeah, we got Mike. No, hold on one sec, James.
No?
James, hold on. All right, why don't we everybody unmute and let's go one at a time. I know I've been getting a lot of texts. Tony Colella, you want to go first? Tony? Okay. Tony wanted to know, I don't know why I don't know what he's doing, but he wanted to know that if the pump goes out and the unit stays on, is it a fire hazard?
No, it's not a fire hazard. No, the unit cannot catch fire.
Okay.
No chance. So the cell can burn up, and it can ruin your cell. So you can see some overheating in the connections. The worst I've seen is where the connections to their plastic, they've fused together, but there's no fire hazard or anything like that.
Okay. We have a Nature 2 unit that comes with our pools. That's that mineral cartridge. And there's also an additive cartridge slot that has chlorine in it. So what it does is it pumps chlorine in one side of the chamber and mineral, their mineral dust or whatever their foo-foo dust is in the other side. So it's like managed metals in the water, and it helps with water chemistry. Well, would that damage the cell unit if both were on?
Well, I'm not sure how necessary a chlorine generator would be if you're already adding chlorine through that unit.
Well, what about just the okay, let's say there's no chlorine in the side of that unit, just the mineral. That won't have any effect on the salt generator, correct?
No, but it can you can get some false readings on your power supply. It can read the additional minerals as salt, so you may indicate that you have higher salt than you actually do. So there's some other things, but no, it will not hurt the unit itself, but it may not operate the way that it's supposed to with those other dissolved solids and minerals in the water. That makes sense.
Okay. Yep.
Back to the retro. Back in the day, we used to stick a rag in the return or a tennis ball so that you didn't have to lower the water.
We have threaded caps.
Yeah, I'm not a pool guy, so I don't really know all the tricks of the trade there. So I just kind of drew a blank when you asked me about the water coming out of the return. I don't really know how people handle that situation, but I just know you have to block it in order to install the cell or take it out. You'd have to stop the water.
We have caps for that. There's caps and plugs for that.
Yeah, I'm sure there.
Okay, guys, there's a good one came across. It says, if the National Electric Code states the GFCI outlet has to be 6 to 10 feet from the pool, how will this work with a 3-foot cord?
Not a 3-foot cord.
I'm not.
No, it comes with a 3-foot cord.
The power cable is the 3-foot cord. The cell cable from the cell's power supply to the cell is 8 feet. So you have a total of 11 feet from between the power cable and the cell cable. Now, it was my understanding that we used to have 6-foot cables on our power supplies, and we went to 3-foot in order to meet most codes. I think was the reason they were asking about what if they required 6 to 8 or 10 feet.
Okay, and then someone just asked.
If you have a GFCI extension, you could. Sorry.
Go ahead. Say that again. Speak again.
Mike was asking about putting an extension cord, and we don't recommend putting a regular extension cord. If you have a GFCI type of extension that has the GFCI protection, then you could use that. But a standard extension cord does not have that typically.
Okay. Also, how long does the cell last on average, and what's the cost to replace it?
Pricing, I'm not a pricing guy, so I don't know what your cost for a replacement cell is. But now, the lifespan of the cell, again, is going to be based on how well you take care of it. But I think the blades we use in your cells are rated for 10,000 hours. So at optimal operation, if you're doing everything you're supposed to, you can get up to 10,000 hours out of these. Now, for a 35,000 gallon pool. Now, there's a lot of factors, runtime per day, and then other things that affect that lifespan, cleaning and maintenance as well. So 10,000 hour rated plates, it's up to the customer whether they get that full 10,000 out of it. And Mike can talk to you about replacement parts. I don't know pricing off the top of my head.
Okay. All right, Mike, you want to take over? Thank you, James.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Appreciate your time, and you have any questions, Mike can give you my contact if you want to reach out. All right.
That'd be great.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to close out of here.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hey, James, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. With all your time. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, appreciate it. So James is going to hang around. If there's any more questions while he's wrapping up here, while I can go through some stuff. Did you everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to ask, there was a couple questions on this mark that I have over into the side that we didn't answer about pool, kind of like pool chemistry. You know, on the box, that cheat sheet's going to tell you in your particular environment what you want to have your pH or alkalinity range at. Again, that can vary, but what happens with salt, that will create an increase in pH. So, but again, it's all going to depend on usage, the type of how many gallons you have. But we recommend a 7.2 to 7.8 range of having a balanced pH and about an 80 alkalinity, somewhere around there. So there will be, with salt, there is going to be some type of spike that you're going to have between those two two things that you have. And then when it comes to the Nature 2, you know, actually on my presentation, you guys will see that that works with the mineral system. So you could either have, if someone wants to have just the Nature 2 system, that's fine. Someone just wants to have the salt system, or you can create a combination if that, you know, if there's a financial, if it's financially okay for them to be able to afford that. So, like functions, how long do I have to turn on the power supply before it's running? The power supply, even if you were to, even if, you know, the thing about our cells or our power supplies, like it's just going to continue to run. There's not going to be any type of fire hazard or some type of, you know, the thing's going to blow up or something like that. It's either going to continue to run and just burn out the life of the power supply of the cell. That's pretty much what's going to happen to it. So that's why you have to run it consistently with the pool itself. And I also didn't touch on winterization. Where you guys are with winterization is very important to winterize. And I'm sure you guys winterize your other equipment in an above ground pool. The power supply, being the fact that it's plugged in, can be removed and put away for the season. But my background and Randy's background is robotic pool cleaners. And we use a lot of the same sources for those power supplies. I've seen those power supplies with a foot of snow on them and they keep ticking. But we always advise to winterize the power supply and winterize the cell if possible for the winter. So, TDS, well, TDS is total dissolved solid. So any type of, the more you're putting into the pool, if it's a mineral system or salt or stabilizer or any of those things to maintain the chlorine value, that's going to cause your TDS to rise. Usually when it gets to be very vital, I find you know, when you hit that 6,000 to 7,000 range of TDS. But if the TDS is going to get so high, then that there's something's going on. I mean, it should never be that high, even with all the amounts of minerals and things like that. But you probably will have to watch that a little bit more carefully if you're putting on a mineral system along with the salt system. So, I mean, that's something that has to be balanced probably a little bit more aggressively, depending on if someone's going to buy both systems for an above ground pool. So again, it's all going to depend on a bather load, gallons of water. I mean, it has to be, you guys tell me better than anything else, when an above ground customer comes in your store and you sell them a package, you want them to come back and buy stuff, right? So, you know, part of what you guys do is helping keeping that pool balanced so it doesn't get out of control. So most heaters have a heating element in there that's protected now from, and Randy could touch on this because she has a heat pump, so she could probably tell you better than me for most manufacturers. But from what I understand, you know, unless it's an old heat pump Salt, as long as it's maintained properly, will not, will not corrode any type of heat pump elements or anything in a heat pump, unless it's an older heat pump before salt kind of became really big.
Talk about gas heater.
Gas heater. Most any heaters at this point have understood that salt is a reality, and they have to adjust their manufacturing to do so, so it wouldn't become an issue. Otherwise, we'd see everything on an in-ground pool be an issue. So.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine, Mark.
I'm getting some texts going back to the Nature 2. Ironically, I have a Zodiac system, which has a low, it's got the Nature 2 managed metal system. Okay. And they run my salt generator, the Jandy, at a very low chlorine output. And the thought was low chlorine and the managed metals, it's been great for me. They do come out yearly. They clean the cell. They rehook everything up. And I think they put in 5 gallons of liquid chlorine to start. They take a salt reading. They add a few of the bags because salt lasts, obviously year to year. We drain below the skimmer. You reintroduce water. You put the additional salt in there to bring it up to the proper levels. Would a low salt system work on your unit as well? Or is it, I know there's various output settings.
You bring up a great point, Mark, and you're a salesperson by heart, because working 2 systems together is only going to benefit your pool and the customer. So when you said, I have a salt system, I have a Zodiac system, you're going to run, remember the bar that you had to increase the chlorine output? You're going to run that at a lower chlorine output because you're using minerals as a chlorine supplement, or almost like a shock itself. So there's 2 reasons why it's a good sales advantage to sell both units together. Number 1, you can run a lower chlorine residual output on the system itself. Number 2, that's going to require less salt to put in the water. Number 3, it's going to automatically shock the pool. What does that mean by using minerals? It's going to be, as you're pumping everything through the cell, what does that mean? Because of the metals, things that you talked about, Mark, because ruthenium's a metal, it's actually going to keep the plates cleaner. So it's going to result in where they have to probably not clean the cell as much,
So, okay. So Mike, would you go over, if you run a low chlor system, using the Nature 2, the amount you'll get longer lasting use out of the salt. So explain the relationship of the blades to the cell and how long to figure out, because some chats are, you're only getting 2 years out of this before you have to buy a new unit. And I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, you're right, Mark. And I got to touch on that because, so it's 10,000 hour material. Remember guys, it's going to be the runtime of how long you're running that equipment for. If you're running it for 24 hours or you're running it 6 hours, that's a big deal. But you have these plates. Do you have that? Let me see that 1 second, James. Yeah. So I can show that. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see these little plates in here?
Yeah.
All right. So that's a series of plates. It's a titanium plate that's ruthenium covered. Depending on how much hours or how much use you're going to get out there is the thickness of the blades and how much ruthenium, or it's a precious metal that we put on there. That's going to create how long it's going to last. And in normal, if you're going to run a salt system without a Nature 2, it's going to eat more life of the unit. But if you have that Nature 2 running with the salt system, it's going to create a longer life because the chlorine output's not going to be as long. B, you probably don't have to clean the cell. The theory is that acid supposedly causes no damage to the cell. And I would have to believe that by the pool professional using that. And I'm a big proponent, guys, of using white vinegar, even though it takes longer to clean. And I don't want to take any sales away from you, Mark, by selling acid by any means, but
it's just safer.
It's safer, and
dogs.
There's a reason why it takes longer, Randy, to clean the cell, because it's not as harsh, you know? So I think
better for the environment, better for your dogs, pets.
And we say that we're the only ones to put it in our manual, but to going back to Mark's answer. The ruthenium, the titanium, and the ruthenium are what's so important for the chlorine production, because in these plates, a positive and negative charge is what's called reverse polarity. When they flip like a battery, a positive and negative charge, that's how you're creating the chlorine. So you're taking that natural salt and then you're creating chlorine as a gas in a different way by just putting shock in the pool, you know? So, and the cell replacement, Mark, I'll have to go over the cost with that because honestly, I have to look at that. But you're going to get, in your area, you should get on a 35,000 gallon for an above ground pool with even the amount of gallons that you're going to have. I think you're going to get 3 or 4 years out of the cell in the minimum, unless they're running it 24 hours a day.
Now, if you're running 24 hours a day, again, with low chlorine,
right?
Are they better to turn this pump off after 8 hours? Because a lot of people do.
They are. I mean, I think they are. I think it's going to do the job well enough. You know, the big scary thing. And we saw a lot of product, Mark, to in-ground pools in the South, but they're really smaller pools. They run it 24 hours because they don't want to, that's just the belief they have. And I kept finding out after 2 years, the cells were going, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So they're running their pools 24 hours a day. They have heat pumps, so they're not closing their pools up like they would years ago when they were doing that. Now it's a year-round situation in places in South Carolina. So I was like, what the hell's going on? Well, they're with those environments. Anyone's going to go through a cell in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just reality. But you have a way with the Nature 2, Mark, to really help that. If you could sell that as a bundle together, you're gonna maximize the life of both items.
Okay.
So,
all right, let's talk about testers for a second.
Okay. Well, we do. I don't know. Should I share my screen, Randy, with that? We could talk about the Salt Dip Pro. We could talk about the Safe Dip. You want to talk about all of them, Randy, or one specific? Are we just trying to get salt, or are we trying to get all?
Yeah, what do they have on their shelf? What do you guys have on your shelf now?
Yeah, how do you test the water? Let's ask that question.
What do you talk what the regular pool water? How do we test it?
Yes,
we've got an electronic test station at each store. So we do
use it like a Lamont system or
yes.
Okay, so like a spin lab.
Yeah.
And you're getting multiple tests. You're getting pH, phosphates, anything from calcium, basically the whole get and gamut, right?
Right.
Okay, so then you have test strips, right? You sell test strips?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mark, I think I sent you a Salt Dip. Do you remember that little handheld tester?
I don't.
Well, if we're trying to do a startup, the main thing would be salt that you want to read, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there's 2 types of testers. One is what James had, which I like the best, which called our Salt Dip Pro. It's a handheld tester that comes in a case. And this wouldn't be for resale to the customer. This would be for you guys to use at the store on a startup pool. So it comes in a case. Okay. It takes 2 AAA batteries that are loaded from the top right here. This is your probe. This is what's going to give you your salt reading. And salt and temperature, we never talked about temperature. Temperature is very important to have salt for chlorine production. It's cold temperature stabilizes the pool. Okay. So if some people say, why am I not producing chlorine? Well, if it's a very cold pool and it's 40 degrees, you're going to have trouble doing that. It's going to work, but it's not going to produce as much chlorine. So this probe right here will measure salt and temperature. This goes into a little cup, right? Trying to do this. You press the on button. You get your last reading. When you press play, you get your new reading in 30 seconds. And that's going to give you salt. It's hard to see because of the glare, but this is going to give you salt and temperature only. This could do up to 100 tests before you need to calibrate it. Calibration means you're cleaning the probe, okay? It comes with a solution with it that you're going to use after every 100 tests at your station, okay? This is a commercial grade probe, not like some of the other handheld testers that are out in the market. You have, It comes in a case. So it looks good if you're taking it out and showing the customer. Okay. This would be one way to do a startup by testing your salt, or a specific customer that wants to come in and test salt.
Okay, so what about the guys that don't bring in their water and they want to do it themselves at home?
Okay, so we do have a couple other testers. I'm gonna have to share my screen real quick, guys. Actually, you know what? Let me do this first. Sorry, guys, I gotta pull something up and then I can share it. Take 2 seconds to find it. Oops.
Are you talking about the salt dip?
Safe dip and salt dip.
Well, I think the salt dip is more economical.
Can everybody see this on their screen? Just kind of indicate yes. So
Yes.
These are our two handheld testers. These are more resale to the customer. They come in like a little package that you can, display them.
Wait, I'm not seeing anything. Hold on, you went dark.
Nobody's seeing anything. Okay.
I'm seeing it.
Are you? No, I'm not seeing it. I don't. Try it again.
I was seeing it.
I was seeing it.
No.
I could see it.
Can't see it, Mark?
I think you're the only one that can't see it, Mark.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't have it. It's just Omri has started sharing screen, but I'm not getting it. But go on, just keep going.
Hang on.
It's okay. Go ahead.
He's the only one that can't see it, Mike.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Mark, what's your email?
Just keep going. Don't worry about it. I don't want to slow it down. Keep going. We got it stored open.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Let me bring it back up.
Anyway, this the salt
ahead,
dip
Randy.
is like probably $199 retail. 169 to 199 retail.
I'm trying to bring it up.
That's the 2-in-1.
Yeah, this is so you have two testers here. You have the blue one is your 6-in-1. That's going to register a good high chlorine based upon ORP, which is your oxidation level, which is a conversion that a lot of people use. Maybe not where you guys are. Your parts per million, TDS, okay, which we talked about, which is important. Your salt and your pH all in one test, handheld. And then you have your salt dip, which only gives you salt and temperature. Both have to be calibrated. It comes with like a little pill that you drop in there, and they both have different ways of calibrating it. But this would be for your resale. And Randy's right. I think the safe dip, which is your blue tester,
that's probably going to retail for $249.
right? And I think
$229. I think the other one is a simple one for probably a $169, $179, $189. Is there salt test strips?
Yes, there is. And there is.
Okay, so that would be like the most economical and the least accurate. But it would still give you indicators on the strips.
And they're not cheap, Randy. Like they're like $10 for like 20 strips. So for you guys, with the type of pricing that we, Randy and Mark, whatever, if it's something that you guys talk about, I mean, they're available and they are resellable. And Randy actually does a pretty good job with them in different areas. So, and they work really well. They're made here in the US, the probes are at least. So it's another option to sell something instead of someone keep going back to the store to buy test strips,
And we probably sell tens of thousands of those 2-in-1. So it's well versed.
Right.
Okay. So any other questions so we can keep this going?
No. Jump right in.
So going to the sales.
Going to the sales. All right. That's the exciting part, right?
Just remember, it's 10 o'clock, so the stores are open.
Yeah. We got that's like 20 minutes. But real quick, does well water affect this?
Great question, Mark. Well water will have an effect on the pool with mostly, just in general, phosphates. So that's a great question. Well water produces different metals and phosphates. Phosphates will eliminate the chlorine in any pool, in ground or above ground, and it will affect the chlorine production of your salt system. You have to get that. You have to test for phosphates in a well water situation, and you have to remove that for the salt system to work accurately. So,
okay.
So, you know, you guys have this information. Hopefully, had a chance to scroll through it. James and I, obviously, with the presentation, answered a lot of this stuff already. And a lot of it's really basic, you know. So how does salt work? Well, you know, it just gives you kind of a breakdown of how the salt chlorination works. Like I talked about, you're taking a natural presentation of salt in a, you know, like a solid format, and you're waiting for it with the help of the pool for it to dissolve. With that, you have your salt chlorinator, which is your cell. Okay, the second part of this, which is, you know, taking that salt and actually producing that chlorine from your salt, which is doing it in a safer manner. So you're not dumping chlorine into the pool. You're not dumping shock into the pool. You guys already know how to do that with your Nature 2 in a different way. So it's just doing it similar of what you're doing with Nature 2 to sell it that way, and what's creating softer water, which we're going to get to the next slide. So you're taking that cell, you're taking those metals, you're electronically moving them back and forth with a positive and negative reverse polarity is what it's called, by producing that chlorine. So and a lot of people think, oh, I got a salt pool. You don't really have a salt pool. You do, but you're just producing chlorine in a different manner, but a nicer manner. And what is that nicer manner? Well, why a salt chlorination system? Why am I going to buy it? Well, it's much better for your skin. It creates what's called softer water. It's so you don't have that extremities like you'd have with liquid chlorine or shock, where your skin becomes very tight, or your eyes get red, or any type of, you know, if you threw a bathing suit in a high chlorinated pool or a bleach pool, you take it out an hour later, it's discolored. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have allergic reactions like you'd have with itchy eyes. It lowers your chlorine usage by adding salt. So even though initially you have to add a lot of salt, it's going to allow you, once that initial adding of salt's done, it's going to reduce that through the course of the season. Depending, of course, the heat and the bather load and things like that we've talked about, you're going to use less salt than you'd use traditionally with chlorine. I know you guys are big chlorine people, but with the chlorine shortage that's happening right now, you know, you're going to have chlorine shortages, increases, and also no more storing chlorine. So a lot of people that go to the store maybe buy a lot of it and sit there and store it, which isn't very good. This becomes an alternative for them by using salt water. Some of the benefits, it's easy to use, just like what you saw with James installing it. It's easy to maintain and troubleshoot. It comes with a lighted power supply, so you can easily diagnose this. We went over that a lot. And one of our things is you can operate on really high and low salt extremities or low. It's never going to shut down in cold temperatures like you'd have with some of the other name brands. We also use commercial grade plastics. So everything is actually injected at our facility in Boynton Beach, along with the plates and also your cell itself. And it comes with we actually increased that's actually wrong, Randy. It's actually a 5-year limited transferable warranty. So it's actually a better warranty. And I must have missed that on there, guys. So I apologize. So, but it's
you're
a
using the old one.
Yeah, well, it's 5-year instead of 3. So it's 2 years full, which bumper to bumper, anything that goes wrong is replaceable. And then years 3 through 5 is a limited transferable warranty. So we actually increased that, Mark. So that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Okay, wait, let me stop you. Did you guys all get these charts? This presentation?
Yes, we did.
Good.
Okay, so does yours, can somebody look and see if you got the 5-year, the corrected one?
Hey, Mike, while they're looking, can I ask you a question, please?
Sure.
Well, I think it's real important that these installers get a training. Do you have a training video? They're not going to read a manual, but do you have a training video of how to install this, like a quick how-to that our guys can send to their installers?
Well, I'm recording this right now, so I'm hoping that will be at least part of it.
Yeah.
But I don't have an actual professional video, Mark. That's something that we're working on in a lot of products that we don't have.
Okay.
So, but
it would be real useful if these guys can just get a how-to, you know what I mean? Just because they're going to be doing it in the field and calling with questions, and we've not installed one out there yet. I mean, whoever bought them, these are homeowners that did it. Maybe can you go through what, like the online guys, they sell these direct to consumers. Who answers all these questions? It just seems to me, this is a whole world, the salt system. It's not an easy 1, 2, 3 plug-in like we thought.
Well, a lot of times, Mark, what they'll do is they'll get the owner's manual, and they'll actually, we got a number of calls through homeowners that have questions when they ask them.
I would imagine.
And I think that's where most of the calls are coming from, is homeowners, less than installers.
Do they call you directly?
They will call us directly with questions, yes. Sometimes the installer will call, sometimes the homeowner will call, both.
And do you guys have a customer service number to answer these questions?
We do, yes. Yes.
And
it's in the warranty, right?
Yes, it's in the warranty information that they get.
It's in the manual.
Okay.
And to go back to Randy's question real quick, Randy, I got to correct that because in the comparison chart, it does say the right warranty, which I was going to show next. So I just didn't go back and correct this one, but in the warranty, it is correct. So.
I think you did.
Oh, maybe, you know what, you sent me this. Remember the one you sent it back to me? Remember, I couldn't find the one that was right. You sent it back to me. So maybe we do have one that's right. Either way, I'm going to correct it. So
no, mine's wrong too. Sorry.
All right, so I'll have to correct that. But and go by the warranty, which I'll show in a second. There is a comparison chart which I attached as well, guys. That will give you the correct one. So to go back, because I know I got 10 minutes. I'm on the clock. At least.
Real quick, Mike, you handle the warranty, not the Great Escape, right?
That is correct.
So we just have the customer contact you guys.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
That is correct. How that works, Mark, let's just say, God forbid, they come out and the cell's bad. What they do is they're going to call us. Now, remember, a lot of times this person got their system already, they did it by an independent anyway. They came from your store, they found a salt system, they walked out, they had it installed by somebody, right? So this homeowner normally is going to be a little bit more self-sufficient to begin with. So what's going to happen is they're going to call our number. If that cell or box is bad, we're going to send them a new part. Inside with that part is going to be a UPS call tag. So what they're going to do is and we don't wait to get the part back. We send it right away. They take out the cell, they put the old cell in the box, they send it back, and it's a wipe. No matter what part it is, it could be the box as well. So as long as they have their receipt from you guys, or sometimes we can even track it with the serial number on the unit, either the cell or the box, which both of them have. We can tell the manufacturing date as well. So normally, very rarely will we run into an issue until about 4 or 5 years down the road where it's questionable. Plus, this system, I mean, this is your system. I mean, Water Trends is your system. So I could track that. It's easier for me to, it's a nice thing about private label because it's your guys' salt system. I could track that back to when it was shipped and when it was made. It's just a lot easier to do.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that you'll never have a customer come in and say, I couldn't get in touch with anyone from a warranty perspective. Very rarely happens. And Randy, I think, can vouch for that. So I think,
Hey, maybe it's worth touching. How many units do you think are sold online? I mean, this is a big, obviously, I don't think some of our people are exposed to how big salt really is.
It's huge, guys. I mean, salt is really kind of, turned the corner in the way of popularity. It's kind of the way it is. And, with the chlorine shortage, it's even more so. I saw my numbers. We have other brands so you guys know, we have other brands that we sell to independent, independent online people. It's a name brand. The warranty's a lot less. And it doesn't look as nice. The power supply looks a little different. And we try to create those differences so it always goes back to the retail store to you guys. But we do sell names online and they've just exploded. I mean, you have all these forums now. You can go on YouTube forums and things like that to talk about salt and the benefits of salt. You can actually self-educate yourself online about it, and that's how popular it's become. And it's not changing any direction at all, especially with this chlorine issue we're going to experience. So everyone's either going salt, or they're going UV ozone, or they're going, algicide, copper, ozonate, what's the word I'm looking, Randy? You know what I'm talking about. Ionizers, or minerals like you guys are doing, So it's going to change. This shortage is going to change quite a bit. So it's going to change quite a bit. So, and a lot of this stuff I went over, Mark, like the next slide, we talked about how minerals could be, Randy and I kind of created this sheet where how do you sell it? You guys could send up to a 35,000 goals. So you're creating that salt minerals. I like what Randy said here, hybrid pool. You're creating the ultimate pool water experience. So you're really kind of taking two entities, putting them together to make the Great Escape package. You could have no peaks in chemicals and things like that with this program. You have a boost button. You have 8 sanitation levels, like we talked about. Easy installation with the 3-prong plug. This is kind of just repeating itself, but there's, it could be, hard plumbed, or it could be flex tubing. This is the piece of literature that Randy and I created. We even put on here, if you could see that, your Nature 2. So you have an example here about where the system's put in, flew through the flex tube with your Nature 2, and then the box on the wall with your pump and filter and everything else that you have on the pool. So it gives you your basic, and I think Randy and I got you displays with a laminated, picture of this, so you could have it on the pool side. And then just what that last slide was, you have your system itself along with those different bullet points that you can talk to with the customer. Let me zoom out. I think that's just a picture of the unit. That's your water trends in full. Hang on, guys. All right, James. Thanks, man. All right, I'll see you there. I'll send you a recording on this stuff. This kind of gives you guys just the basic, here's your setup again, your system overview. Again, and the first slide kind of explains what each one is. Obviously, that's your cell, that's your power supply. I think the important maintenance instructions is cleaning the cell. So here's what you have. You take the cell off, you flip it over the bottom. There's a cap that comes with it. You put your cleaning cap on one side, and then you're going to put your, parts per million of your your acid and water level into clean the cell.
Or vinegar,
which I like well. And then obviously, James, this is included in your slide, which James just did this whole, installation with your return, and also your clamps and your flex tubing. Here's your box installation, 110 plug, or using an external timer, or using your existing timer with the pool itself to run on and off. And I think the next couple slides, I know Randy felt this was really important. Calculating your pool size on how much, salt you're going to initially put in the water. And it is shocking, guys, and I don't want you to be scared, but this is how you're going to obviously equal your gallons on how big the pool is. So this gives you let's take this 15,000 number at the bottom, okay? The next slide is going to tell you how much salt you're going to need. So water volume in gallons, okay, on the side here. I guess Randy wanted me to do a 12,000 because that's normally what it is. So this is going to be in gallons, 4,000 gallons, 6,000 gallons, 8,000 gallons, 10,000 gallons. Randy and I want to pick number 12. 12,000 gallon pool. This is how much salt you're going to add in pounds. This is the level that you want. So remember, James said we want to be at that. Let's just pick 3,000 parts per million here. I'm going to take the 12,000 gallons. I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to see your 3,000, 50 pounds of salt, guys, to start off with. That's going to change during the course of the season.
No, 50 bags of 40 pounders.
50, yes. 50.
Not 50 pounds.
Correct.
You have to figure your starting salt level before you start configuring how much salt to add.
Excellent point, whoever that was. Excellent. Because a lot of water has already been calcified. Whoever brought that up, and Randy can state this because you guys live there. Randy, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't some areas like very calcified water already? Isn't
Yes.
calcification? So
Yes.
great point, whoever said that. Check the salt before you put it in, because places like Arizona, which is similar to places outside of Chicago, already have a very high calcium level, which is, it's not salt, but it's going to have an effect on what you should put in. So whoever brought that up, very good point. Always test the water first, because there's already salt in there at some points, or calcification. Does everybody understand that, though?
Not really.
If you test your water and you start with 1,000 parts per million, if you look at the chart along the top,
Yep.
go to that 1,000 number, go down to your 12, then you need 250 pounds of salt. If you start with 3,000 parts per million,
Yeah, very good.
You need 50 pounds of salt. If you start with 0 parts per million, you need 350 pounds of salt.
And what happens for the people that oversalt the pool?
Well, that's the one thing you guys don't want to do. I mean, you want to start off slow and then add as you continue. So what I try to sell, Mark, is we think you're going to need 15 bags of salt. Let's just take an example out there, but you only might need 12. Okay, but you have 3 bags left to be able to implement as you need it. So, you know, what I do is, what I got to tell you, Mark, what I do is, you don't want to run a really high chlorine level. What I do is run it for a longer period of time so it produces chlorine and gets the salt out of the water. You know, I've never found it being drastic when you're starting off. The one thing you don't want to do is oversalt the pool in the beginning of the season. In the middle of the season. I mean, there's no reason to put more salt in the water there's no reason to be 4,500 parts per million during the course of the season. So, but start off slow, because it's a startup, and it will start to produce that chlorine in the water. So hopefully there's not a certain point of oversalting the pool. I don't find that to be a very big issue, unless you've seen it. It's your market, I don't know. So, pool chemistry explained. I'm not going to go over every single thing, but someone asked on the chat here of where you want to keep your levels or where we think it should be. This gives you the whole kit and caboodle. Gives you your salt level, gives you your free chlorine and combined chlorine, gives you your pH, your alkalinity, your stabilizer, your phosphates and nitrates, like Mark pointed out, with watch out for well water pools. Your metals, which could be an issue with well water. Calcium hardness, which already exists, like we talked about, total dissolved solids, and then your saturation index, which we can be looked up online. So you can actually, there's an index that you can go to and punch all your numbers in, and it's going to give you your accurate levels online, which is a separate index, which I didn't create. Solax didn't create. So take this sheet, print it, and look at it. You know? Why sell a chlorine system? This is just easy bullet points that Randy and I created. Produces chlorine in a friendly, safe manner while feeling great when the family swims in the pool. With a possible chlorine shortage, which we touched on, salt chlorination system gives you an alternative sanitizer. That's probably why you guys had people coming in, and maybe it wasn't part of the above ground bundle, but people just needed salt systems. There was a time where you couldn't get them last year. So they just weren't anywhere to buy them. Great versus traditional chlorine. And then the chlorine, the water trend system can be sold in your store only. The water trends is your private label. They can't go to American Sales down the street and buy it. It's your private label. Last thing I want to bring up, because I know I'm short in time, but I want them to look at the comparison chart, Randy, real quick. Where is it? Hold on. I think I got to stop sharing and then reshare again. Sorry, guys. That's the only way to do it. Hang on, guys. Sorry. Does anyone have any questions before I jump into that, while I'm looking for this, that they can talk about that they have? I know there's a ton of them on chat, guys, and I'm sorry I didn't get
Yeah,
them.
a ton on chat. Guys, you want to ask away? No?
Okay, so I just read one about the pool warranty versus using salt.
Okay.
So most tracks have become plastic resin, correct?
From my knowledge, they have, but they would know better than me.
I wasn't really asking you.
I know you weren't, but I thought I'd answer anyway.
Randy, can I speak to that for just a second?
Please.
Last season, we went up against salt a lot. And one of the things that we used to sell against salt with was talking about the pool warranty. That the pool warranties are going to be covered if the customer has a salt system. The manufacturer, Aqualiter, is they're going to cover the pool failing, even if the salt system is the cause of it. I mean, that's true whether they got the salt system from us or not. I mean, I've filed a couple warranties and blatantly said that a salt system corroded the pool wall, and that pool wall was replaced without question. So I know for a fact that they're going to back it.
It's not in writing anywhere, is it?
It is in writing, actually. There's an addendum to the warranty that says salt systems does not void the warranty.
Thank you.
I mean, here's my take with dealing with Steve Cohn's companies. That's Aqualiter, Sharkline, Wilbar. Is that here's the issue. Speaking frankly, Mike Falls, you might want to close your ears. Not having a salt jet, because there's a lot of chat, and I'm getting a ton of texts with what do you want to do. Listen, it's easier not to sell salt once we have a salt generator. Like most things, we need a solution to any situation that occurs because we're the big guy. They expect us to have it. Salt's out of the bag. That baby went down with the bathwater, whether it's going to work or not work. It's in the industry. Salt will slowly gain momentum because people want to do less with their pool. I, like probably most of you, realize there are some issues with timer, the pumping off. I mean, Mike, whoever blew their nose, classy. That was super.
It wasn't
awesome.
Me.
Anyway, so just having an answer and easing into it is what we wanted to do. Some people are just sold on it. So instead of saying, we don't do it, this is everything we have, you send them away. Now we don't have to. To Mike Falzer's point, hopefully it's a more technologically advanced customer and knows that there's a little sweat equity going to be involved with hooking this up. So I'm hoping between our small knowledge, the installer, and Mike Falzer's customer support number, we can solve most issues. Yes, we got to address testing, what customers are going to want to know. We are not looking to create more chapters of work for the Great Escape because we need automatically to be in the salt system business overnight. This is to put on the shelves, have a clean answer, learn about it slowly, and do it neatly. We got to educate our customer, our installer, our sales staff. There's going to be a learning curve, there's no doubt. But salt is part of the industry. It's a small part and it's gaining. Mike Falzer keeps saying that there's a shortage of chlorine in the industry. Mike, you want to touch on that, what happened with the fire? So sure. I don't think half the people even know what you're talking about.
Sure, yeah, okay, that's a great point. So guys, if we all think that, the chlorine tabs come from numerous amount of companies throughout our industry, and that's actually just not true. It actually comes from only a couple sources, primarily a company outside of Louisiana. And when that storm came through, that hurricane, it started a huge fire there. And when that fire happened, it eliminated them from functioning and producing more tablets. And the ones when they got back on their feet, when they could produce them and private label them for people, that cost went up tremendously. So if you have one company private labeling a lot of these
here, wait, it's 80% of the chlorine manufactured came out of that plant in Louisiana.
Right. Yeah. And the fire happened when? August or September or something?
It was right towards the end of hurricane season, Mark. It was like right around like the end of August, beginning of September. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Like last year he's talking about.
Right.
So yeah, we're down. I mean, there is a big shortage in the industry. Obviously that spikes up pricing. So people are going to feel it. So that's when Mike kept saying with the fire and the shortage, that's what he was referring to. Again, just going back to my point, it's a solution. Like Nature 2 started slowly. Now it's with a pool package. And eventually with salt, we probably will have a package. Going to what Jay Wilson touched on with warranties. We all know liners are a big part of the pool ulcerating issue. Whether there's a pinhole in the wall of the liner and regular chlorine escape, it starts ulcerating and eating the inside of the wall. So by the time the ulceration goes on the outside, the pool wall a lot of times is shot. Salt is a good solution, but it's also a little bit more unstable. So if you just have an all steel component and salt's all over the pool, well, build an above ground pool next to the ocean and watch how much quicker it will erode. It is real. I mean, that is real. You'll see online, the Pool Factory and other online sources sell salt. What is it? Salt protected pools or salt 5,000, meaning they have coatings on it where they can sell a salt system. On our better pools of Aqualiter, we can do that. So what he's saying is, just be careful where people said, oh, I got a salt generator, my pool rusted, I want everything for free. Just be careful, because we're opening up a chapter of, we now sell salt. How is our pools protected? So we'll take them one at a time and we'll work through them with our manufacturers. And yes, most likely they will be protected. I mean, that's the best I can say. We can't say carte blanche, sell it on everything, because I'm getting texts. Can I sell it on a Glen Cove? Can I sell it on some of the imported pools coming in? That's not who we are right now. This is a salt generator system. It's hundreds of dollars. It's going to go to an upper end pool right now. And let's see where this leads us. Let's start slowly. I think that's why we have X amount in. This is a year late. We tried to do it last year and then coronavirus came. We're still doing this by Zoom, where Mike wanted to come in and have small little get-togethers and educate us. And we're still going to do that when this gets behind us. But for right now, we have a solution. Don't have all the answers. We're going to work towards them in a calm way. It's not get off the phone and sell it with every pool. Just when you need to have it, we've got it. If you're more comfortable with it, sell it. So, that's where we're at. Hopefully that puts it in perspective. Mike, was there anything more you needed to add?
Just going to bring up one thing I can finally share this here, guys. Hopefully not an issue, because let's see. Here it is. Here's our comparison chart, guys. And Mark, I apologize. You can't see
No. I got it on my phone, so I'm looking at it. Go ahead.
So, just to give you guys an idea, Randy and I wanted to put the major brands on here, and also the RetroJet, which is one of the systems we make for an online situation. And I will bring up those two first. You can see that we gave you guys a more ruthenium, thicker plates. That's why you see up to 35,000 gallons compared to 25,000 gallons. So what does that mean? It's going to work on bigger pools and it's going to last longer. Major point. They both put in the side of the pool. That would be your first one. And then look at the chlorine production, guys. Look at that chlorine production difference. That's on a 24-hour range. So you're at 1.35, 1.15. What does that mean? Again, you can run it at a lower. Hey, look, you can run this on level 3 instead of running on level 5. So it's going to last longer and create more chlorine to circulate throughout the whole pool. Yes, the power supply is the same. You guys are non-internet. They are. So that drives them back to you guys. If you want the, obviously coming to the store to buy other equipment, we're both the manufacturer. And look at the warranty, guys. They're 1 year. 1 year. You guys are 2 years full and a 5-year limited transferable warranty. The reason I created transferable warranty is, Mark, we can get into the parts later with the cell replacement and all that. Randy and I can get that stuff. We want them to come back to you guys to buy that stuff from you guys, since it's not on the internet. So resale. The other brands, just so you guys know, you have the Hayward Salt and Swim. That's somewhat similar to kind of our unit, because it's, it's somewhat of a user-friendly unit, but it's an inline only. So it doesn't come off the side of the pool like you guys would have with our unit. So it is a little bit, it has to go in line, and it's not as easy to install. Okay. And even though they have 3 years on the power supply, they have one year on the cell. So, I mean, you know, what does that do? I mean, you know what the cell, after a year, they got to replace a cell. We want it to be 2 years on everything. Okay. And it does come with the 3-prong plug. So this is probably your this one here, the Salt and Swim, which you might see from Independence or on the internet, because it is on the internet. You know, that's going to be probably your biggest competitor, maybe outside the Retrojet. The reason I put these 3 on here, your Hayward AQ100, your Pentair i30, your True Clear, these are all inline systems. So even though they're up to 30,000, 35,000 gallons, look at the chlorine output compared to ours, guys. Look at, I mean, the one from Hayward, I'm still working on the Salt and Swim, but I know it's very low. I don't think it's even up to 1.0 in chlorine production. So when your customers start coming, oh, you know, what about the Hayward going on, or the iChlor? First of all, it's in-ground driven. So the installation is going to cost a lot more than our unit. They're not going to they can't go to a store and walk out with that unit without paying an electrical technician to wire that unit through a timing box. Okay, guys? So they might have the unit, but then they got to pay what, an extra $200 or $300 for an electrician to come out. They don't have to do that with your unit. Okay. And the chlorine production is much more. I mean, look at the Jandy True Clear, 0.93 compared to 1.35. So they're getting a better system for an above ground system than they would with an in-ground system. And yes, the warranty might be 3 years, not transferable, but you're talking about an in-ground pool, guys, not talking about above ground. So I just want to let you realize the advantages that we can show on this comparison chart compared to some of those other brands.
Yeah. Good point.
No, I mean, Mark, that warranty is, Randy and I worked our tail off to get you that warranty, man.
Good.
Yeah, big.
I mean, you know, that was a big, but I understand, Mark, why? Because when me and Randy did the work, I understand why. I mean, you need that extra year and that extra pro-weighted to really compete with the Retrojet or anything on this list, any above ground. You know, I mean, it's a win. You know, so.
Yep.
Okay, so I know it's getting late. Does anybody have any pertinent questions that you want to do a wrap with?
Anybody want to chime in? If no, that's okay. It is getting late, and it's 10:37.
Well, I appreciate
hey guys, thank you. Thank you. I know this is tough to do via Zoom. Hopefully, after this upcoming season, we'll be able to do this in person. And you know, let's do our best and bring good questions forward, and you know, get behind this. So, Mike, I appreciate your time. Randy, I appreciate your time. Randy, let's see if we can talk to Mike after to recap what we're going to need. And any questions, guys? Randy Bourne is the rep, obviously. Mike Falzer is the national sales manager of Solex. Again, we private label the Water Trends brand, so it's not football all over online. We've got those nuggets of sales tools that Mike had set from us. Hey, a real quick question just on competition, we can wrap. Is there a brand out there? Is there a brand out there that has a flow switch that might be better? I mean,
I saw that.
Yeah. I just think it's a good one.
Only on those inline ones, Mark, you're going to see that. Like your Pentair has one built in, if I'm not mistaken. Your Hayward AQ100 has one as well. And the Jandy, I believe, has one too. Anything that's in grounds, because of the type of you're using.
All right. Okay, good. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Let's go to work. Thank you. Randy.
Thank you.
Guys. Appreciate all the time.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.